I am Dracula. I bid you welcome.
Most people are probably familiar with Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's a story that's been adapted a metric shitload of times. He's been played by hundreds of actors. There are dozens of sequels. He's a staple of pop culture at this point. There's a lot of debate over which adaptation is the best, which one's the most faithful to the source material, but the most iconic version of Dracula is, without a doubt, the 1931 Universal version starring Bela Lugosi. It's easy to say that 94 years later it's been outclassed by all the other more modern adaptations. My personal favorite will always be Christopher Lee. Even if some of his movies kinda suck, he always gave 110%.
I have chosen 4 messengers of death. 4 horsemen of my created apocalypse. 4 carriers of the plague who will infect their miserable brethren. You, Van Helsing, are now one of the 4.
But one could also argue that the 31 version was already outclassed when it came out by the Spanish version they filmed alongside. But that's besides the point. You see, the 1931 Dracula, being an early film, didn't have an actual musical score. It wasn't unheard of at the time for a talkie to have a score. King Kong was only 2 years later and has one. But Dracula, along with Frankenstein that same year, had no music aside from the opening credits. However, while Frankenstein had an original piece of music created for its credits, Dracula uses a recording from the ballet Swan Lake by Tchaikovsky. And this exact same recording would also be used the very next year in The Mummy. And it's worth noting that The Mummy also features much more of a score throughout. Not a particularly good score, but a score nonetheless. In 1999, Universal commissioned Philip Glass to create a musical score for Dracula. And it's fine. Like, I enjoy Philip Glass's work to an extent. Like, his Candyman soundtrack is impeccable. But this is kinda just whatever.
We know how to save Miss Mina's soul, if not her life. If she dies by day, but I shall see that she dies by night.
I mean, it's kinda cool to have the option to watch the movie with music, but you might as well just stick to the original. But what if I told you there's another option? Yet another version of Dracula that does indeed have a musical score. The only catch being that it might be lost to time.
What music they make.
So for a little background, when I was growing up, I would watch this show with my mom called Svengoolie every week. They'd play a horror movie and stop every so often to say some behind-the-scenes trivia or just do a weird skit. Not unlike something like Elvira or The Last Drive-In. Svengoolie is still broadcast today, but I don't tune in nearly as often. But the important part is that they've showcased the original Dracula dozens of times over the years. Most of the time, they play the regular version sans music. But more than once, I remember them playing a version with a soundtrack. Different than the Philip Glass one, it featured a little bit more of that Swan Lake theme. I remember they played this when I was kinda young, so my memories are a little hazy. Honestly, for a while, I didn't even know if it was real. Basically, here's how the original movie ends. And here's a mock-up of how I remember this version ending. Regardless, I do remember looking at the back of the DVD, seeing that it featured an alternate soundtrack, only to be disappointed that it was the Philip Glass one. And then I forgot about it for like a decade, before it randomly came back to me some time ago, and I just had to find it. I confirmed that it wasn't on the old DVD, and I didn't really know where to go from there, so I did some very basic research on Svengoolie. I couldn't find an archive of the episode, but I did find a blog announcing it, an IMDb listing of it, and a horror movie forum discussing it and notably wondering where this soundtrack came from. Most users didn't seem to have much idea where it came from, but I did have a lead. Someone mentioned a recent Blu-ray release having a French audio track that features different music, and the only versions on my old DVD are the English and Spanish versions. And then I forgot about it again for like a year. Anyway, partly in the name of this quest, and also because my old DVD had somehow gotten scratched, I bit the bullet and bought the 4K Blu-ray to test whether or not the French track had the missing music. But before I could do that, I forgot about it again, for like another year. So I remembered it again, and now is finally the moment of truth. After all these years, does the French version have this elusive extra music? Yeah, it does. It's exactly how I remember it. Well, almost exactly. See, the problem with this French audio track is that it is, surprise surprise, dubbed in French. And I've seen Dracula enough times that I don't really need to have the dialogue in English, but I can't help but feel my quest isn't quite over. So I thought, is there a chance, however slim, that somebody has uploaded an archive of the Svengoolie episode with the French music paired with the English dialogue? Yeah. Honestly, I don't know how I missed it. It's been up for quite some time now. I'll link it below. But here's the missing Dracula soundtrack in all its glory, composed mostly of stock music and sections from Swan Lake. And as I kind of feared, it's a bit of a mixed bag. While the music does sometimes add to the atmosphere, the fact that it's entirely stock music kind of detracts from the overall experience. They only have like 4 or 5 tracks at their disposal, and it gets really old after a while. Here's the compilation. Fuck it, here's another one. Some parts feel like they just added music for the sake of adding music. Like, it's not well integrated. The one part that really grinds my gears is the reveal of Renfield on the wrecked ship.
Wise man. Look at his eyes. Why, the man's gone crazy.
The big dramatic musical sting is kind of obnoxious and just really detracts from the scene. It's way more unnerving when it's in silence. However, I do think some parts are actually enhanced by the score being there, particularly when Dracula kills the girl on the street. You can make the argument that the original version is better, but I appreciate this for what it is. Honestly, it was just really nice to finally see the ending with the big triumphant Swan Lake reprise, and to me that was worth all this trouble. However, now that I've found it, I still have a few lingering questions. Namely, why does this exist? This soundtrack seems to originate from a French DVD release.
And one change we made last time we showed this film is the addition of the musical soundtrack that the original film did not have, made up of stock instrumental music that was used on the French DVD version of the movie. So many viewers enjoyed it last time, so we left it in for this showing.
I imagine because someone thought, oh, young people don't like old thing, add new thing to old thing, make young people like it, or whatever the fuck. So that I can understand. I still don't know when exactly that happened or where the stock music came from, but the more interesting question to me is, who put the English dialogue over this French soundtrack? My first thought was that someone on the Svengoolie crew must have put it together, but they don't really do alterations like this. They didn't really make alterations at all, aside from small ones for comedic effect.
Jeffrey.
Helen, darling.
I can't definitively rule them out, but I'm guessing it would have had to be someone at Universal that created this. And if that's the case, why hasn't this version ever seen an official release anywhere else? I don't have any answers, and I don't really know who I would even ask to get them. But to be honest, I'm not exactly losing sleep over it. I've been wondering about this thing's existence for the better part of a decade now, and I'm still shocked I was able to find it at all. And I'm willing to bet I'm the only one who still cares. But given the choice between watching the original Dracula, the Philip Glass soundtrack, or this new French soundtrack, I'd still probably go with Horror of Dracula from 1958. That's the best Dracula movie. Happy Halloween, bitches. Thanks to anyone who made it to the end. I know this is another level removed from what I usually make. I promise the next video I do will be about Godzilla again. I've been working on one for a long time in the background now, so you can look forward to that, I guess.